the new director of the state's Broadband Access and Expansion Office is here with us, Jeff Lopez. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today.
Thanks for having me, Griffin.
So I guess first question, there's a lot of state offices out there. Tell us a little bit about what your office is specifically working on.
Yeah, absolutely. So the New Mexico Office of Broadband Access and Expansion was created by the New Mexico State Legislature in 2021, signed into law by Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham. So we've been in place for about 4 years now. Our mission is to connect everybody in New Mexico to affordable high-speed broadband.
And you know, in this day and age, I mean, it can be hard for people to imagine that there's people out there living and working in places that don't even have that kind of internet access. I mean, this is a reality for a lot of New Mexicans.
It is, particularly in our rural areas. Those areas are very hard to connect. They don't have access to the broadband that we might be familiar with in Santa Fe and Albuquerque. So the mission is really focused on those rural areas, as well as providing digital literacy and affordability. I'm hoping to see more of in New Mexico.
So when we're talking about, you know, parts of New Mexico that don't have this kind of reliable connection, I mean, how do you guys try to quantify that? Is there a percentage of the state where you guys look and you're like, you know, we have this much of the state that's still not having, how do you look at that?
Yeah, when we were established in 2021, about 80% of locations, those are the households and small businesses in New Mexico, had access to high-speed broadband. So we define high-speed broadband as 100 megabits per second download and 20 megabits per second upload. And again, that's something you're familiar with if you subscribe to our main providers in Albuquerque or Santa Fe. So in 2021, about 80% of households had that. Now, about 94% of households have access to high-speed broadband. So we've made a lot of progress over the past 4 years with a combination of the Connect New Mexico Fund from the New Mexico Legislature and the American Rescue Plan Act Capital Projects Fund from the U.S. federal government. So that has gotten us a lot of the way, but we have another 6% left to go.
And that's no easy task. So we know the feds just awarded New Mexico some more funding, $675 million to be specific, to help with this broadband expansion. You guys just submitted your plan on what you want to do with that funding. I mean, what can you tell us about these plans, or what are you guys working on with that money?
Yeah, so the purpose of that $675 million is to provide service throughout New Mexico for those unserved and underserved households that are remaining. So we have about 43,000 locations that we are looking to fund with that. We submitted our final proposal to the federal government, the National Telecommunications Information Administration. We're looking for their final approval now. So we're planning to serve about 44% of those locations with fiber, another 40% with fixed wireless, and about 14 to 16% with low Earth orbit satellites.
And so 43,000, is there a specific part of the state that you're seeing that kind of clustered together, or is this kind of all over the place?
That's the challenge. Where you have locations clustered together, the market works. You have internet service providers that are willing to use their own capital to go in and build fiber or build infrastructure to that community because they have an expected rate of return. It's the very remote locations that are harder to serve, where the market doesn't necessarily make sense. So you need some public involvement to make sure that those people that live there, either traditional communities or folks that just want to live in a rural area, have equitable access, the same access that you and I are used to here in Albuquerque or in Santa Fe or in Las Cruces or major metropolitan areas.
Are there any regions of the state where you're noticing this is a more of an issue than in other regions?
Again, it's at the rural areas. It's pretty evenly spread. If you're far away from major infrastructure, if you're far away from a major highway, then it's harder to build. So it's really the most remote areas. We also have big mountains, we have valleys, we have topography that attracts a lot of tourists here and has a lot of draw to New Mexico, but it also makes it very challenging and expensive to build some of that infrastructure.
You know, I wanted to ask, I know one focus of your office is on tribal communities,
yes,
which have sometimes been a little bit behind the curve on this. What can you tell us about what you guys are trying to provide to tribal communities, or what is the focus on that?
I've spent about a third of my time meeting government to government with our tribes, nations, and pueblos throughout New Mexico. Those are some of the historically most difficult parts to connect throughout the state. So it's a priority for our office to make sure that we're working hand in hand with governors and tribal leaders, getting them what they need, requests. We're responsive to any requests they have for assistance. BEAD is a big part of that. So our largest single preliminary award under the BEAD program is to the Navajo Nation, planning to serve about 10,000 locations that are remaining to be served within our northwest part of the state.
So you mentioned, going back a little bit to the technology here, we know New Mexico's a rugged state. You mentioned we got fiber, we got satellite, we got a couple different providers here. Are you guys having to kind of juggle some of that just to try to figure out, like, in this place, this is the only thing that'll work, but at this place, only this will work? Do you find that's an issue in New Mexico a lot?
There are some areas where we had competing bids using different technologies. The most recent guidance from the federal government issued on June 6th give the state a little bit more discretion for determining what is priority broadband. So we could set some of the requirements for the technology, for the speeds, for the latency, making sure that the solutions that were proposed actually meet the need for that location. So we are looking at, and we're still looking at, locations that can be served from fiber, cost-effective way, making sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck with these public dollars. And some of the most remote areas that would be more expensive, we're looking to serve with low Earth orbit satellite. So we are trying to evaluate that on a case-by-case basis.
You know, it's interesting that you brought up fiber because we know just in Albuquerque alone, there's a lot of companies that are working to bring fiber. Do you find when you're trying to expand to these rural communities that you make a plan and then you end up having to play catch-up because technology is just evolving so fast? I mean, is that a factor here?
We are still a fiber-first office. We're a fiber-first state, and that is because it is future-proof. You can put a lot of connectivity into a couple strands of fiber optic cable. So that is the best value, I still think, for making sure that we can meet those long-term future needs. I don't know what schools are going to need in 10 years. I don't know what small businesses are going to need in 10 years. But right now, with all the technological solutions available, fiber has the best chance of meeting all those needs that we can't quite identify because they might not exist yet.
All right, so I think, you know, a burning question when it comes to getting this broadband expansion out there is, how long is it going to take? Yeah. So you guys just submitted this plan to the feds. What's the kind of short-term timeline looking like here?
Yeah, so the proposal we submitted to the feds just a couple of weeks ago plans to serve every single unserved and underserved location. So we're hoping to have those enforceable commitments in place by the end of this year, hopefully by the beginning of next year at the latest, and then construction can begin. That's when you're actually getting the permitting necessary to dig fiber, when you actually turn on the networks, and we're hoping to get that done within about 3 to 5 years. That's when the funding is planned to be used.
And so is the goal in those 5 years, let's say optimistically, I mean, could we be at 100% connectivity?
That's the goal. I think we could, and that's our plan. We're hoping to use these dollars effectively, and if all of our partners abide by the enforceable commitments we're hoping to have in place, then that means that we'll have everybody connected by that time. Fantastic.
So it's September, just about to be October.
Yeah.
Tell me, what should New Mexicans know about this right now? Are the average New Mexican, are they going to see any difference in their cell phone or internet service, or is this really, getting that last 6%?
It is focused on the last 6%, but like I said before, we have gotten from about 80% of served locations in New Mexico to 94%. So hopefully many people throughout New Mexico have seen that progress already, and we're hoping to get to that final 6% over the next couple of years. And I think they will. They will see the results of that.
Fantastic. We're going to love to see how this develops. Thank you, Jeff, so much for sitting down with us and telling us about all this broadband expansion coming to New Mexico.
Yeah, awesome. Happy to be here.
Thank you.